Kauf, and this is Metaphysical Chat. And today, my special guest is Patti Negri. Hi, Patti.
Hi, Joy. It is so good to see your beautiful face. I miss you so much. Greetings from Hollywood.
Yay! So I'm going to let you tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
You're known as the Hollywood Witch.
Yeah.
You call yourself a good witch, but that sometimes has a unique, condensation. I'm going to say, especially here in the Texas area. So I want you to talk a little bit about what that is.
Okay. What it is, yes, I am a psychic and a medium, same as you. I was born with a gift. I just thought everybody could see the other side. When I was 2 or 3 years old, I knew the imaginary friends little kids have weren't imaginary. Many of them, they were real beings I could talk to and communicate with. And the what I call witch part, which we'll get into, I also had this connection to nature. It's just to nature. I would literally find myself in my little suburban Los Angeles backyard, picking rosemary and knowing if I put some rosemary in my mom's purse that it would help draw money to her. I mean, just little weird things that were just in me that no one taught me. So I think I'm natural born, all of the above. And I like the term good witch because I don't like the term white witch because it has so many things. And magic it's not a color. Good means a lot of things. I'm very good at what I do. I only do good things. And to me, it could mean a religion. It could mean a belief system. I am Wiccan. I am ceremonial. I am claiming the witch. You're a pagan form of belief systems. There's many, many within it. And it also can just mean the practice. To me, the practice of witchcraft, which means I'm willing to take fate into my own hands to create a life I want and that I love, which is, there's a lot of people that do that, don't not use the term witch, but where we shape and mold, we will take fate, we will take destiny. It's the same thing as doing it with affirmations or with vision boards, candle working, spell working. So to me, that's what it really means. The practice of the craft, whether you want to call it shamanism, witchcraft, new age, candle working, means that I do believe we are these powerful beings and we were given free will to create the lives that we want. And people walk by. We can't control everything in our life, but we can control how we react to that thing. And how we react to that thing is the 90%, and we can change it. And that's how it's like the dance between fate and destiny and free will and creating what you want. So that's what I mean by good witch. And the Hollywood part is because I am an LA girl. I've been in the entertainment industry since I was a young teen. This side of myself, this witchy psychic medium side, was very, very secret for forever because I ran a very corporate production company. My company, which I still have, Brain Brew Entertainment, was very corporate. I would do big song and dance extravaganzas for very corporate companies, and I'm thinking, these people really can't know the person who's producing their motivational thing for the HR department dances around, bonfires and talks to dead people. So I kept that really, really quiet for a while until the crash of 2008, the economic crash, when corporate entertainment became a dirty word and reality was taking hold, reality television. I remember that with one of my clients who knew that I did all this on the side, very in the closet, so to speak, needed somebody who was really good at a seance for a show called, to do a seance. It was legit. And I'm like, oh, I can't do it on TV. She goes, okay, it's a show called Mobile Home Disaster on country music television on CMT. And I'm like, well, nobody's going to watch a show called Mobile Home Disaster on CMT. Sure, I'll do it. And it was fun. I'm like, oh, this is the best genre. It worked with my sketch and improv background that I had done for years, why I went into the kind of production company I did. You don't have to memorize lines. They follow around. You get to be you, your real message. They wanted my real gift, no theatrics. And I'm like, this was fun. But then the first time when it aired, I remember I'm like, nobody's going to watch this. It was really fun. And the next day I got a call from one of my really corporate national companies. He's like, I saw you on TV last night. And I'm like, oh, I'll never work in this town again. I'll never work for that bank or whatever it was. And instead, she's like, I didn't know you were into the paranormal. I love the paranormal. And we had the best, most personal conversation we had ever had. So I'm like, I'm out of the closet. If it didn't lose that client, but still that corporate world, well, you're an ex-corporate person. The corporate world just lost its excitement for me. It's still, corporate entertainment was going down, down, down. It's still, and the reality thing was going up, up. So I'm like, okay, this is who, and now I get to sort of do the same thing, because before it was about empowering people, you know, even if we're teaching them new, you know, sales techniques or HR via sketch comedy, but now I get to do it from my spiritual place, my real place. So that's what happened. That's how the Good Witch of Hollywood showed up. And then I became, because I do know television, I do know how to hit marks, I do know how to work to the camera without work to the camera. It just kind of fell in my lap. Any show that needed either a psychic or a medium or a witch or a seance, or just kind of came the one to call. So that was great. And the one that the most I work is Ghost Adventures, just because that's the one that everybody watches. It's like, I think I've done 10 episodes, and they have the best fam. They are the best. The boys are the best. I must say, can't think of a bad word to say about them. They are so committed. They are legit. They're fun to work with. They throw me in the scariest places. It's all good.
So let's talk a little bit. I know that you've been coming to Miracles of Joy. I'm going to say it has to be close to 7 years at this point.
I think so.
You know, and from the beginning, I'm going to say from the beginning, a lot of the people that come into Miracles of Joy follow a pagan path, or, you know, a witchy path, or a shamanistic path, a Native American path. And what I notice is when you're working with those earth energies, it's kind of the same thing, whether you call yourself Native American, a pagan, or a witch. They pretty much follow a lot of the same paths.
Completely. That's what, one of my gifts is, I kind of see energy. I kind of see, that's how I move, those cords attached, the strings, the energy, whether it's spirit world or our world. And I think the path that you choose, there's a billion correct ones. There's a billion. It's literally, to me, it's like a template, or like it's your roadmap. How you different words, or if you get to the truth below them, it's like, oh, here's the through line in all of them. Whether it's a traditional Judeo-Christian path, a Buddhist path, that through line of what these spiritual truths are, what this life truths are the same. You know, and if you want to dress it up with, you know, witch hats and bonfires, great. If you want to be all new agey and chiffony, great. If you want to, it all works. My grandfather was this big famous philosopher, and he studied religion, but he was the opposite end of it. He was this very academic, card-carrying, practically evangelical atheist. He ran the Humanist Society of Friends. He hung out with the Isaac Asimovs and Carl Sagans of the world. But I even read his, and then I became the same thing, studying religions, but the opposite side of it, because I see the through line. But even now, I read his books, and even though he's writing atheist books, and he writes about every religion, I go, oh, you believe the same thing. You just use a completely other set of words, using science words, same thing.
Mm-hmm. I think what's probably what's been a theme in my whole entire life is I used to have people say, how do you get things to just work for you? And, you know, part of that is I believe we all have our own magic. You know, whether you want to call it magic or you want to call it miracles. You know, part of it is I used to call it throwing my energy out there to create what it is that I wanted to create in my life, to manifest what it is that I needed to manifest in my life. I would call it walking in faith. You know, whether you want to call it God, my guides, my angels, spirit, whatever label that you wanted to put on it, what would happen is I would just go out and say, okay, I know this is going to be provided for me. I just need to pay attention to the signs so the magic can happen.
Yes. I agree. That's exactly how I too. And what you find the signs, and whatever the name doesn't matter. It's the thing behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's what I believe too. And it is faith. I'm a big believer, whatever you put it in, I'm a big believer of that mind, body, spirit. Mind, body, spirit. Because literally 200,000 books are written about it. Psychology section, self-help section, new age section, spiritual section, occult section. Mind, body, spirit. Have all three, it's always a home run. 1 out of 3 is hit or miss, and 1 out of 3 is wishful thinking. I wish I had a boyfriend. I wish I had a job. Just 1 out of 3 is nothing. 2 out of 3 is hit or miss. 3 out of 3 is always a home run. Because we get the mind part. We will never surpass our own thought process. It's going to be hard. Yeah, now it is. It's going to be easy. Yep, now it is. We create that. And if we can't believe, we can't really see ourselves having this, we're never going to get it. So you got to start there. Mind and body. You've got to take action into it. I firmly believe that. I'm going to start eating healthy. I'm not going to go to the drive-through every day. I'm not going to do that. And to me, the spirit part, that's the battery that makes it happen. That's the energy. And that's where people sometimes get lost because it's less tangible. We understand thought process and action, but it's the battery, the generator. And actually, that's what can be done a million ways. It could be done by prayer. Go to church, go to temple, go to the mosque, pray. It could be done by candle working. Get all the beautiful herbs in your store. It could be done by witchy ways or new age, a vision board, affirmations. But when you have the thought pattern, the action, and that, whatever that kink is, that's when we can move mountains, literally.
I tell people, I used to teach a class called Learning How to Pray Powerfully. I talked about this, I think, last week on the webinar that we did. But one of the, I used to call it the magic, was we're sometimes taught to pray like we're begging for something. Like, please, if you want to throw me this little morsel, go ahead and throw it forward. And I said, no, it's not about that. It's about stomping your foot and say, I command that this be brought to me now. You put that power and that energy in it, and it starts stirring it up, and it brings things towards you. And I kind of have done that my whole entire life. I don't ask. I mean, it's not like, can you please send this to me? It's not like that. It's like, no, I need this now. Bring it to me now. And it's just it's magic that happens where doors open up and it happens. My favorite story, I'm going to tell this story, I was probably in my early 20s, and Tiffany and I, my daughter at the time, I moved to Philadelphia from New Orleans. And I needed a babysitter. She's getting ready to come in a week, and I don't have anyone to watch her. And every place I went just didn't feel right. And my friend at that time turns around and says, he's talking to me, and he goes, Joy, you got to make a decision. And I said, God will provide. And he's like, what do you mean? He goes, do you expect someone to come knock on your door? And right then it was a knock, knock, knock on my door. So I go out to the door. It was my next door neighbor that wanted to borrow something. And I said, hey, I'm looking for a teenager that can watch my daughter in my apartment after school. They have to be able to go to this high school so they can pick her up and bring her here. She goes, I know the perfect girl for you. She goes down the hallway. She talks to the lady and her mom. The girl and the mom comes over to me. They ask, are you sure this is something, ask the girl and says, are you sure you want this responsibility? And she goes, sure, I want to be able to do this. Next thing you know, I have my babysitter. He's on the floor and he's like, how did you do that? Like, what did you do?
Knocking on the door.
I said, it was what you said and what happened. It was a sign for me to ask the question. Where we lose it is we forget to take that action step in that moment. We forget to trust spirit in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're not really believing it, like, give me this, I'm never going to get it.
Right.
That's great. They get a knock on the door. Yes, they knock.
He says, I'll never doubt how you do that. I mean, and he would watch. He and I were friends, and at one point my car got stolen. He goes, how am I going to tell her car was stolen? What are we going to do? How are we going to get to work? And all of a sudden he goes home. His car was broken for over a month. He turns the ignition and it starts. So we literally drove his broken car for a solid month. We worked at the same place. All of a sudden I get my insurance money. I buy a new car. He goes to pull it into this place that it was in. And all of a sudden he turns off and he goes, watch, it'll never start again. He goes to hit it and it doesn't start. He goes, how do you do that?
Miracles of joy.
So it's almost like when you know that magic is possible in your everyday life, when you know those miracles are possible in everyday in that life, you're actually throwing your energy out there and you're saying, I trust that you're going to take care of this for me. And Spirit has a way of just giving you the signs and taking care of that.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, that's what I say. Cause like, look at all this, you do it with, look at anybody, look at your life and all the stuff that probably everybody here is, who's listening, goes to your store, is some form of manifestor, practices some form of, so look at all the stuff that it's worked from. You've done all that. You've believed it, you've taken action, and you've had the magic. And the stuff that maybe isn't coming true, you're just missing one of those things. You're just missing either the faith that it will, the belief that it will, taking action towards it, and figure out which one of those things you're missing, and you'll get it. You know.
One of my favorite words, and especially when it comes to manifesting or magic, is sometimes with the item that we forget as a human, or that our ego kind of like, you know, gnaws at us, is learning how to surrender to Spirit. You know, that's kind of the magic in it, is, you know, Spirit's going to show up. So you surrender it. You don't keep trying to fix it on your own. Right.
And we're not very good at surrender.
No. We're told to never give up. Fight to the bitter end. I know. We try to fix it our own kind of way instead of just allowing things to kind of unfold. Even when it comes to, you know, some of the things that have happened in the store on a regular basis, there's been many times I would ask, like I would turn around and say, I need these crystals. And literally the phone will ring and it's someone that's, you know, coming into the store selling crystals, and it's exactly the kind that I'm looking for at that particular time. So it's almost like being able to walk, you know, with magic all around you, and to just trust that you will always be provided for.
Yep. And then we will be, and we are.
So I'm going to talk to you. I want you to talk a little bit, Patti, about you have some classes that are coming up at Miracles of Joy in August.
I'm so excited. I love it there. I love you guys. You know, I travel a lot. I tour a lot. I know a lot of different metaphysical stores. You, hands down, are my favorite. Hands down. How you run it, the people who are there, what you have there, the workshops and classes, and the people you bring in. There's just no energy like it. I love it so much. So yes, I'm coming there sometime.
August 21st, 22nd, 23rd.
August. My hope, this COVID thing has been so hard. I was really getting ready to, I was just right when it started. I had 3 weekends in a row. I was in Nevada for one. This one we were supposed to do a couple weeks ago, I think.
Right.
I was supposed to be in Arizona. Everything just crashed. Hollywood told me stuff just crashed. So now I don't even remember what day it is. So thank you, August. I'll be yes, I think I'm going to take one of my practical magic classes.
Right.
And again, showing people that you don't have to claim a term witch, you don't have to do anything, just working hands-on with stuff that we are going to do, and you can just see, wow, we are going to do this right here, right now. We'll talk through it, we'll walk through it, we'll really, really do it. And it's always really fun. We'll end it with we'll do a real ritual, we'll do things. And I'm not a believer that there's one thing to do anything. Again, I believe there's many templates along the way, but I'll teach guidelines so that you can create your own way of doing magic, your own way of manifesting, you know, but there are basic guidelines, there are basic truths and spiritual truths. So if you have that basic roadmap, then you could do whatever. So I'm excited about that one. And I think I'm also teaching a class on kind of the different kinds of paganism, right?
Right. You're going to teach a class to talk about the different kinds, from shamanism to witchcraft to paganism.
Thank you. Yes. Because people get so confused. Even people who understand it get confused. Even people who live in our metaphysical world. So again, being a person who studies this stuff, kind of the basic difference in what in terms that people use in the difference in a ceremonial magician versus a Gardnerian versus a chaos magician, traditional British craft. I'll teach people the different things. It's kind of whatever your exact belief system, it's all in compass work. What you put in, if you're working an elemental compass, that means you're putting earth in the north, you're working an earth-based compass. Earth in the north, fire in the south, water in the west, and air in the east. So everything you're working that is based on an earth-based thing. That even means your fire is fire of earth. Your air is air of earth. Your water is water of earth. And that will do in your workings and your ritual, whatever. If you're doing an earth-based system, and I do them all, that's traditional British witchcraft is an earth-based system. And again, whatever you put in the north is the thing. They put air in the north. Air in the north means it's a spirit-based, not just air-based, it's a spirit-based. So it's air of spirit, earth of spirit, water of spirit, air of spirit. So they're not working in the whole elemental realms like most regular shamanistic Native American, Peruvian, Wiccan works in an elemental thing. They're working in a spirit and earth base, and it's got its place in everything. So kind of learn, if you're doing the work, going, I really want to work with some deities right here. I'm going to do a beauty thing, and I want to work with Aphrodite, and I don't want to just work with my dirt. I want to work in air-based system. So I'm going to bring a little Hecate over here, and a little, whoever there, and so it's like learning ways to do different things within it. So they'll both be really, really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And be there for private sessions. And are we doing a seance or a gallery?
We are. We're doing a mediumship gallery and a seance as well,
Yes.
Which is always awesome.
Yeah, especially when you're there too. Yes. No, that's fun. I've been doing those since, again, when I was 3 and 4, I just thought everybody could talk to the dead people. I literally did my first seance when I was 7 or 8. I went in my little suburban hallway again, where there's no windows, closed the doors, realized I didn't know dead people. So Marilyn Monroe, John Kennedy, I came up with every famous dead person I could think of. Came up, kind of knew what I was to say in the sounds and the chants, kind of just naturally knew who to open the veil. I've studied it tons since then, so I'm really good at psychic protection and how to lift and what not to lift.
Mm-hmm.
But I did it at 7 or 8, and my windowless, lightless little suburban hallway filled with lights and orbs flying and flashing. And it's like, whoa! Of course, me and my, 7-year-old girlfriend went out screaming, but inside I was like, yes, this is real. And this is something we can control to an extent. We can turn it on and we can turn it off. So, again, it's working with people that show them how they can do that and how to do things safely. Because, again, doing this my whole life and doing it in some places where you go dark places, like with TV shows,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to talk to sweet little grandma ghosts. They want to talk to the serial killer ghost who caused. So you have to know what you're doing. So it all starts with respect. So we will do that. And I'll show people how to do their own, whether they're just doing mediumship or they want to do some scrying into their mirror or into a candle or thing of water, how to safely open the veil and call in what you want to call in and not allowing nothing to sneak in the back door when you're not looking at it.
I also want to share that, why don't you share your website as well? And, what I know that you do sessions on a regular basis for people. And why don't you share a little bit on how someone can get in touch with you?
Okay. It's pattinegri.com, PATTINEGRI.com. And from there, sessions I do just like this. I do Zoom, I do Facebook video messenger, I do WhatsApp, there's 1,000 ways now. And again, I will be there live in August, and you can come and sit there and beautiful miracles of joy. So from there, my other thing I'm known for, again, besides seances and my clearings, and I know you clearings there, I travel even doing those, but you guys have really good people in Texas to do that. So that's how PattiNegri.com. I have my Facebook page is Patti Negri or Patti Negri Psychic Medium. Twitter, Patti Negri, Instagram, Patti.Negri, LinkedIn, Patti Negri.
Mhm.
I do have a new, and I got to get you on, Joy. I've got a new podcast. It's called The Witching Hour. It's on dashradio.com on Friday nights at 10 p.m. Pacific. So that's a little bit late for you guys. And then it'll play about 5 times throughout the week. But then 1 week later, the new episodes go to Anchor and Spotify. So you can listen to whenever you want. You just pick regular podcast. But I've been getting some amazing guests from just had Bishop Brian Ouellette, who's the exorcist priest from Ghost Adventures. Just had Darren Evans, who's the Zozo guy. I'm bringing all my Ghost Adventures, of course. Zach's going to do it too. But also just people from every walk of life and getting their thoughts. Shayna Mokler, I just had, former Miss America. Bridget Marcourt. So it's really good. And I give a little bit of my magic in the end. And so find it. It's The Witching Hour, wherever you find podcasts, once it gets off Dash. And my book.
So I want to talk a little bit. I mean, you and I did, for the last conference that we had at Miracles of Joy, we did a ghost hunt. You know, like we went out there and we actually plugged into a bunch of different ghosts that actually existed on the walk in Old Town Denton. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about my experience was, you know, when I walk through it, I can feel the energies. I heard what they were saying, but I never had any fear or anything that kind of, you know, came over me. In fact, I don't want to say that they're a different frequency than, let's say, working with a spirit guide or an angel or something like that, but not, at least not from my perspective. It felt like it was all kind of part of spirit. And it's almost like they were there to remind people of some of the things that they didn't do properly in that area, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
No, it does. Again, we have our side of the veil, our 3-dimensional world, gravity, this and that, where we're all living right now. And the other side, which is angels, spirit guides, fairies, ghosts, elementals, and all that. And yeah, and we don't need to be afraid. The one thing I do believe is that this is our realm of existence, this 3-dimensional world. They really do have to play by our rules. People just don't realize it, so they give their power away. And when you see people getting all possessed, whatever, they've allowed that, usually just out of naivete. They don't know better, and they'll lead with fear, which will, of course, feed a negative spirit. They'll lead with anger, which will, of course, feed a negative spirit. You got to go in there like a disciplinarian parent or a teacher. No. You don't feel good. I don't want to talk to you. You do feel good. So you do talk to them. So it is exactly that same realm, this other beautiful world where all sorts of stuff. So I've never been afraid. Even now, I know if I'm going to get, because of a show or something, thrown into someplace really dark, I know how armed I am. I'm going in there with like bulletproof vests of every kind, because you do have to know, again, learn what you're doing, or a form of what you're doing, of protection and things. So yeah, that ghost hunt was great. I think they were good ghosts, because you know, when you go into this insane asylum, it's one thing, people, or the guy where they killed 900 people. As a rule, like, most humans are good. Most living people, we're good people. There's a few bad actors. Most ghosts are good people, you know, and, you know, they're hanging out in downtown Denton. In Hollywood, we have.
I think what was probably the most impressive thing that I noticed when I was there is it's also going in there with a sort of sense of respect. Like honor and respect, both sides of that veil, that I could feel that I was sending that respect out and I was receiving that respect back. And then I realized that we're probably magnets on some level. There's a magnetism to humanity on some level, that what we put out is also what we also receive.
Yes. I believe that 100%. We are. And when you're gifted, like you are, like, again, probably most of the people listening are, the spirits can see that. It's like an open neon sign. Oh, they see me, or they can sense me, or they can smell me. So I'm going over to those people. So, and you're right. The number one thing that I work with people, it has to be respect. be a little skeptical, okay, but it's respect. My one unrespect, that's the Marilyn Manson somebody burst into flames story, because it was a lack of respect. Nobody likes it, including the spirit world.
Right, right. So I'm going to tell people how they can find more information about your events. You can go on to miraclesofjoy.org. That's miraclesofjoy.org. And it's under featured events. It gives you a list of all the events that we have coming up. We're also going to be doing approximately 15 online workshops this week. I'm going to say this month that I have scheduled. Yay! So I feel like I've worked so hard to flip from in real live events to actually moving them to online events. And I'm kind of excited about some of the lineup that we have coming up. So why don't you guys check that out? Also, there is a chat room here in Zoom. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask Patti or myself, by all means, you can go ahead and tap in the chat room and put your questions out there. And we would love to be able to answer them for you. I'm also recording this event as well, so I will be posting this on Facebook, so you can also revisit it at another time. It's also going to be one of our webinars out there that you'll be able to click for free at any time if you want to see it again. And we're just talking a little bit about magic and ghost and anything that's spiritual. So if anyone has anything that they would like, any questions that they would like to have answered, by all means, just type it in the chat room, and I'm more than happy to kind of read that and go forward. So Patti, talk a little bit about some of the other events that you do on a regular. Why don't you talk a little bit about some of your other events?
Okay. I do a lot of the paracons, paranormal conventions. I think the next one up is early August. We're doing Virginia City. So any of you who are the ghost hunter type, Ghost Adventures was just there again many times. We are going to be at the Bonanza, at all those places. We have to get you out there, Joy. You walk in, it's a real old Western town. If there weren't cars there, you would think you're in an old Western movie. And it's fabulously haunted. So I've got that coming up. I've got Vulture City Paracon in Arizona coming up. I've got Slaughterhouse again. These are all ghosty hunty things. And what else am I doing? And then I'm working again, TV wise, I'm working with Comedy Central again with Trevor Moore. He's one of my favorite comedians. He's a funny guy. He's from the Whitest Kids You Know way back when in like the late 90s. But he has a talk show format. Again, we were getting ready to film a bunch just when Hollywood shut down from the COVID thing, but I've got that coming up too. So I don't know, I just say yes. Somebody just asked, what do you think the first scientists were really witches? Yeah, in a sense, if you want to call them scientists, yes. I mean, the women, killed for witchcraft were like midwives and herbologists and worked with things. It's people who just had an intuition, and that was the early, if you want to call them scientists or wise people. And the word witch actually just means wise one and or hidden knowledge. Occult just means hidden knowledge. None of these have bad meanings. People have just, who don't know anything about it, have put the bad meanings on top of things. Anything in the Orlando area? No, I've never even been to Florida. I would love to do something in Orlando, but I've never been to Florida. Nobody's asked me.
So if you know of any shops that are in the Florida area that may want people to, travel there, by all means, put us in contact with them. You can actually message us on Facebook if you want. And I don't think anyone is hesitant to going to Orlando, Florida, if there's a place to work out of.
No, let's take it on the road, Joya. Let's go. Okay. Yeah, no, I was supposed to go to New York the week the lockdown shot for two, but I've just never been to Florida. I haven't done the South much. I think about as South as I've been as you, which is that South.
Which I'm really surprised New Orleans wouldn't be a big place for you to go to.
I did, actually. I finally got there on Halloween. I was there for the Vampire Ball. I was there for 5 days. And I fell in love with that city. I fell in love with that city. The energy, it's great. So,
So
ooh.
from Megan, I think it's Megan, she says, I'm really drawn to Eureka Springs, Arkansas, which has a lot of paranormal activity. Have you had any experiences there?
No, never. I guess I've never been to Arkansas either. I think I've been everywhere. I guess I haven't been anywhere. No, I haven't. But if you're drawn to a place, that means it can mean a lot of things. So follow your draw.
I've heard a lot of people mention Eureka Springs that have been into
Really?
the store, that they go there quite often and talk about the magic of the energy that's in that area. But I personally have not been there either.
Well, certain places are definitively, whether it's grid lines, vortexes, yeah, certain places are just way more active than others by the topography. Los Angeles, we've got these big vortexes right through the hills, right in the Hollywood Hills and Griffith Park, that go all the way down to Malibu. And I believe, honestly, that that's why Hollywood is right where it is. It's not 50 miles this way or that way. It drew in the dreamers, the right brains, the actors, musicians, and the religious right by my house in Hollywood. We've got a monastery, we've got Vedanta Society, we've got self-realization, we've got the Scientologists, we've got Theosophy, it's all creative, either the arts or the spiritual. And they're all gathered around this vortex, this unmarked vortex. Every time I go up to the vortex, literally, I will find nuns praying or lovers kissing. And that's the big one. And it's right halfway between Hollywood and Burbank, which are the two entertainment, capitals supposedly of the world. And then they just dot them way up the coast.
I don't know any details about it, but there was also, someone was telling me that there was a pyramid in that area. That there's they think that there's a pyramid that exists right close to where the Hollywood sign is.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
No.
There's a little bitty pyramid that somebody put a couple years ago. It looks like a landed alien. But I have heard things, sadly, a friend of mine who actually sadly died this year, Jason Davis, he was the son of a famous Marvin Davis and all this stuff. He would show me these, part conspiracy theory, but part because his grandfather built the Beverly Hilton. He was showing me these grid lines of how LA was laid out with all this stuff. So maybe it's something like that too. It might even be a pyramidal type energy, whether it is a literal pyramid. It might be an energy thing that I would believe 100%.
I always, what I talk about is there's pyramids all over the world, but it seems like we've never found them in the United States. However, there is at one point that's called Mound, Texas. Medicine Mound, Texas is what it's called. And I was driving through it one time, and it's like small, medium, large. These three mounds that are just next to each other. And I'm like, when you see these mounds out of the clear blue, how do we know they're not pyramids? But no one's going to let you excavate to even look at it. And I think we may have some in the United States, but then again, we can't rewrite history.
Or can we?
I think part of it is they don't want anything that they can't explain away, that it becomes a little complicated if they discover something. There was a cave in, I'm going to say, the Grand Canyon area that someone went into, and they had a lot of Egyptian statues in there. And someone came into the store and they were sharing this with me, and I found it on the internet. We're reading the article. And then all of a sudden it was like this person said that they weren't allowed to go near it anymore. And all of a sudden everything was no longer on the internet. And I'm like, I read it. I saw it. I saw the pictures. I read it, and it just disappeared. And I'm like, I believe that you will find that a lot of our civilizations have come together, that there is an Egyptian aspect in areas of the United States as well, but they just can't say that happened, or they don't know how to explain that away. And then we also have I'm going to read something that Catherine wrote. She says, I really wanted to attend the last year's ghost hunt, but wasn't able to, but I'm really excited for August. I will have to attend all three. I have always been interested in the paranormal and magic ever since I was a little girl. And I can't tell you, it's like I was always interested in magic as a little girl. I mean, one of my favorite movies was Peter Pan.
Me too. Peter Pan, Wizard of Oz. He just kind of.
And it says, are there any good books or references that map out vortexes, ley lines in the US?
Oh,
I don't know if you've ever been to Sedona. This is from Megan. Megan, I'm not sure if you've ever been to Sedona. Sedona has some vortexes that are really mapped out in that particular area. And you may want to take a look at that because, you know, it's hard to describe. I can't describe it. I have never had a place, I was pulled off of the highway because it had the name Sedona, and I always had a connection to Sidonia of Mars. When they talked about when they found the face and they found the pyramids on Mars and Sidonia. So when I came driving up I-17, I literally had Sedona pull me off of the road. I had to go down this direction, and I would go there, and you know, I didn't know why I was drawn there. That's when I started collecting crystals and all kinds of things. I worked in Phoenix, Arizona for a period of time. And when I got pulled there, what was interesting is Tiffany and I walked into this little store, and this guy says, "Are you here for the vortexes in Sedona?" I said, "What vortexes?" He goes, "I'll take you to one of them." So we started to explore all the different vortexes. All I can tell you at the time is my cell phone could never hold a charge in Sedona. You know, it would literally drain my battery like no tomorrow. And then you will never, inside the vortexes, you didn't have a signal, but as soon as you went down the hill and outside of the vortex, then you would get a cell signal. So I used to say there was some sort of energy that was there. I always call it the land that morphs. And people ask, what do you mean it's the land that morphs? I said, you look at the mountains, and sometimes they could look like Native Americans, and other times they could look like Egyptians, and other times they could actually look alien. There's a place also called the Sedona Sphinx, because if you look at the rocks, it almost looks like there's a sphinx there. So if you're really interested in any kind of vortexes, my recommendation is find some time to get over to Sedona, Arizona, and just do some exploring. Patti, I don't know if you have any, if you know of any other places.
I don't know of, no, I don't know of anything that's been mapped out in the book. Again, I saw grid line maps, but they were his own thing, of my friend Jason Davis, who just passed this year. I don't know of any. That would be a great, if anybody finds out, let us know. You know, following vortexes.
Actually, Michael has just shared, he just shared a link to vortexhunters.com, which would probably be, and I'll just go ahead and say it. I don't know if everyone else can see this, but it's www.vortex, VORTEX hunters, HUNTERS.com, and that there's actually a vortex map for the USA out there.
Wow. Thank you. Ask and we shall receive. Look at that. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
It says there's also, Patti, I helped you find your.
Oh, the Ghostly Lovers show. That was you. Thank you. I did a documentary movie years ago for Travel Channel called Ghostly Lovers, and it was the good side of ghost sex, of human ghost relationships, but not the incubus, succubus, dark, evil, whatever. And I was one of the experts on it, because in a very small playing field, you rise to the top quickly, because all the clients that I had that work with, and then you have them. But they played it once on Travel Channel, and then I swear I couldn't, never again. I think it was just too much, even though it was like very D-rated, but it was just the subject matter. You know, ghosts are bad enough. Our little Western, you know, prudish America, sex is ghost and sex But I found it. Thank you, Michael. That's awesome. Awesome. He did. He found it. I don't know how. I've looked for years to find it. And he goes, here it is on YouTube. And I'd looked on YouTube. You're magic. See, magic.
Magic. It always happens. It always happens. So one of my favorite spells that you've sent out in your newsletter, Patti, was the dragon one.
Yes.
And I have two dragons that work for me. And what was really funny is at that particular time, I knew I had I called him my gatekeeper. I had a dragon who was more like my gatekeeper. I feel like when you work with a lot of energy, that you have these protectors that show up. So to me, my dragon is more of a protector who showed up for me. And when you came in, you happened to be doing a spell about bringing your dragon to life to do these things for you. And I'm like, I never really thought about that before. And I turned around and that was my dragon. I just turned around and said, okay, this is your job. You're my gatekeeper.
Yeah. It's an energy form. Again, whether you believe it's a fiery, just like angels, we love angels. Of course we love angels. But angels are dextral. They're the highest level. Angels do two things, protection and enlightenment. Two good things, probably the best thing. They can enlighten and they can protect. They can't cause change and shift though, because they're dextral. There's no sinstral side. We like fairies because they're mystical and magical and music and laughter. But dragons are crossroad beasts. They've been around forever, every belief system. Chinese dragons, medieval dragons, they get a bad rap only because they're powerful. But dragons can fly between heaven and earth. And dragons live at the crossroads where change happens, where shifts. So getting yourself a dragon, I don't have any right here, dragon, giving it its name, giving it its breath. You're creating a fetish. We create fetishes all the time, or golem in Hebrew, or egregore, or servitor. You know, your statue of Jesus, your lucky cat in your store, your Buddha, you rub the Buddha. But take your dragon piece and bring that crossroads magic in. They could be a game changer, right? They could be your gatekeeper. Here's my health dragon. Here's my prosperity dragon. I work a lot with dragons.
And it was at a time where I had a couple of, I'm going to say, folks that came working in the store. And over that 6-month period, I don't know what I thought of dragons prior to that. But then all of a sudden they said, do you realize you have this dragon that's standing right there? And I had like 3 different people talk about this dragon that I had standing there. And I named him Draco. That was the name. I just go Draco. And it was funny because it's like, it was years ago. I'm going back 10 years when he started to show up for me. And what was really interesting is I found, you know, at one point I would have probably had a negative because dragons are considered bad in certain traditions, you know, so you turn around and you go, oh, should I be scared of this because of what they show in Hollywood? And then all of a sudden I started to build this relationship that no, there's nothing for me to be afraid of because this is one of my protectors. So it was like really a cool experience to start bringing these other aspects to life is what I call it.
Yeah.
You know, once they show up, you can actually bring them to life.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, dragons get a bad rap. Just like witches, the word witch, the word vampire, the word all that stuff. Dragons are amazing. That's the one, I'm not even going to go into the whole story, but when the Marilyn Manson seance, when somebody burst into flames, and cool witch medium Patti becomes medic Patti, which I'm like, drum and roll, because we were calling in spirits there, not what would happen at Miracles of Joy. But I called in my wards, which I didn't tell anybody what they were or anything, shut it down. 3 weeks later, the guy who caught on fire, he showed me the small of his back. And it literally almost looked like he had got a tattoo of a dragon. Open mouth, teeth, winged head, into the shape of a serpent. And that's the exact energy I called in to shut the veil, to shut down the seance when this guy caught on fire. It's like, I'm like, you have a tramp stamp of a dragon on you. He loved it. He was inspired. He wrote a movie with Stephen Norrington, the guy who wrote The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and the Blade series. And he wrote this whole horror film about this Hollywood medium, this Hollywood psychic who does all the TV shows, and then a portal gets open, and then it turns into a horror film. He hasn't done it yet. They haven't done it. But if they do it, but I actually sat down with him with the script. I go, you can't say that on. I go, great, do a horror film, great. I go, you can't say that on camera. He goes, but you said it. I go, I know I said it, but those are powerful words. I do have to word Egyptian. I go, you don't want it to be one of those cursed horror films, do you? Let's say different words that aren't going to cause an effect on anything. People don't get that. So I spent 5 hours script doctoring to unempower the magical words within the script.
We have Abby. Abby has a question, and it's a really good one. It says, I'd love to hear about your experiences with fairies.
The fae. I love outdoors. I love hi, Abby. I have a big, I'm lucky, I'm grateful. I have a big backyard. It's wild, and it's in Hollywood Hills. It's crazy and beautiful. Fairies, again, they bring laughter. They're mischievous. They're like kids. You give them too much power, they're going to start stealing your earrings and your keys and hiding them in weird places. But they'll usually give them back if you bribe them. But my most magical fairy experience was a couple years ago. And it was May Day. Fairy Day is May 1st. Beltane, the holiday, May Day. The 2 days that the veil is thinnest between the worlds is Samhain, Halloween, October 31st. And opposite of that, May 1st, the dead are holding it up on Halloween. That's why we celebrate the dead. That's why it's actually a beautiful pagan holiday. On May 1st, the fairies are hanging up. So that's spring, new life, love, romance, everything that spring, Maytay, Beltane is. But it was Beltane Eve, and my husband and I, and he's not real spiritual. He's a drummer, but he plays along. So we went down. I had this little cup, like a sauce cup, and it was shaped like a daisy, and had 6 little containers that you would put like 6 sauces in. And we put fairies like whiskey, fairies like cream, fairies like honey. But I had a dark honey and a cream, and I mixed in each of the 6 little cups equal amounts of honey and cream, and mixed them together so they look kind of like a cappuccino, the dark gold and the white, in these 6 little cups. And with each one we made a wish, whether world peace or for ourselves or whatever, just each little wish, and this is your gift for the fairies. So when we walked out at the end of the night, it was 6 little cups of very beigey, looked like a cappuccino. Nobody was there. Nobody knew we did it. Go back up. I went down first thing in the morning. 3 cups just had honey, and 3 cups just had cream. It's like they separated it. That's such a fairy thing to do. That's a pure fairy, just for mystical, mischievous, beautiful. So that was the best fairy magic. You see them when you see fairies. You're gonna, because they are otherworldly, just like spirits and guides. You're gonna see them in the corner of your eye. Fairies live at the edge of day, edge of night, the edge of the garden, the edge of the path. So that's when you're going to catch them, the edge through your thing. So I don't know. I mean, you can get a beautiful fairy teacher, witchy fairy teacher is Orion Foxwood. I don't know. Have you ever had him at your store, Orion Foxwood?
I have had, I channel a fairy. There's a fairy frequency that I have channeled in a channeling class, and her name is Star, Starr, Star.
Oh, that's perfect.
And my experience with Star, like when people would turn around and say, well, what would the purpose of a fairy be? And I would say, fairies were there when we were kids. They try to bring us to that childlike space where we didn't care about the past or the future. We only knew how to be in the present moment. We only saw things in the present moment. And one experience I had with Star was Tiffany and I were driving. We're actually driving to Colorado, and we happen to be going across Kansas, and it starts pouring down rain, and it's like hail's getting ready to hit. And all of a sudden I'm starting to get afraid. She's starting to get afraid, and in pops Star driving the car. Yeah, it was
wow.
Like, so all of a sudden it's like, I got this. We just turned to Tiffany, I got this. And she's like, Mom, I don't know if I like the fairy driving. And what happened, what we came to learn in that moment was there was a tornado coming towards us. So Star kind of pops in to get Tiffany and I on the side of this road where we were actually underneath the overpass because a tornado was coming this way, and I was thinking in my own head, I'm going to stop on the side of the road here. But it's nighttime, so you don't see a tornado heading your way. So to me, elemental, the elements, weather, things of that nature. So Star was just there in that moment, which was fear. I can't even describe it. I went from the place of being terrified of the weather I'm in, and we're in the middle of nowhere, to fearless.
That's awesome.
Being in the moment. And it's that childlike, I call it that childlike wonder, where we were fearless. We didn't fear anything until we were taught how to fear.
You're right. And you're right. You're not in the past, you're not in the future. And that's good in that moment, which is what we teach, and even teaching in spirituality, or how to go in. It's in that moment. That's a beautiful story. Oh my God, tornadoes scare the heck. I've never been in a tornado. I've never been in a hurricane. I'm a little LA girl. Everybody's afraid of earthquakes. I haven't felt an earthquake in 20 years. You guys have tornadoes and hurricanes and all sorts of scary stuff.
So it's like I don't know who wrote this, but it says, the Irish fear them. Do we have any fear of them here in the US? I guess they're talking about fairies. I don't have any fear of fairies.
No, I don't have fear of fairies. I know that in the lore, that in a lot of fairy lore, again, when I was talking about Orion Foxwood, he has a whole fae belief system and writes books, beautiful books. But yeah, there is little things like don't look a fairy directly in the eye, or if you see a fairy ring or whatever. But yeah, I think that's just what we put on it because they're powerful. I don't think to fear anything that's of light and mischief. Almost anything. What I always figure, whenever anybody thinks something is bad luck or something, it usually just means it's powerful. It's not bad luck at all. Like breaking a mirror, it's not bad luck, it's powerful. I put broken pieces of mirror in like a witch's bottle or something to protection. Like walking under a ladder is actually a vortex change. So, I mean, in olden days, paint would fall on your head. That's why it's bad luck. But anything that they think is bad luck, just look into the history of it. It's probably just powerful. So therefore people think it's bad because it's powerful. Black cats, all that stuff.
Yay. Also, I guess Friday the 13th, you consider that a lucky day.
Exactly. It's totally a lucky day. I'm born on the 13th. And whenever I have a Friday birthday, it's like, yay.
So if anyone has any questions, we're going to be wrapping up in a couple of minutes. So Patti, I'm going to go over those dates one more time in case anyone missed them. Let's see. It is going to be August 21st. You're going to have your Witchcraft and Paganism class at Miracles of Joy. You're there for sessions, and on the 22nd, it's going to be Practical Magic 101, Spellcrafting, and then the Medium Gallery and Seance on the August 22nd. So if you guys want to get a hold of me or get a hold of what's going on at Miracles of Joy, our website is miraclesofjoy.org. Again, that's miraclesofjoy.org. You can also find me on Facebook under Joy Kauf, JoyKauf. And you can find Patti on Facebook as well. So go ahead and just finish up with telling them how they can find you again, Patti, for those that have joined us late.
Patti Negri on Facebook. Patti Negri Psychic Medium is the like versus friend page. Either is good. If I can't friend everybody, but you could follow me and you could like the other one. Instagram, Twitter, again, everything's Patti Negri or Patti.Negri. And it all comes together on my website, which is pattinegri.com. Again, please, I hope you guys all come to Miracles of Joy. It's my favorite place to go. And my book is for, you guys still have some of my books, right?
Yes, we do still have some of your books.
Old World Magic for the Modern World. It's super simple. The dragons are in here. So
I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, Patti, for joining me as well from Metaphysical Chat for Miracles of Joy. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.